Need funding for your real estate investment deal? Longhorn Investments is professional, reliable, and fast. Currently serving Texas, Tennessee, North Carolina, Missouri, Alabama, and Indiana, Longhorn Investments, LLC is a direct private lender offering short-term acquisition and renovation capital to real estate investors for both residential and commercial assets. With Longhorn Investments, you can receive up to 75% of ARV, finance up to 100% of cost, close in 3 to 5 business days, no income requirements, a streamlined, simple approval process, and no prepayment penalty. Formed in 2008, Longhorn Investments has funded over 4,000 loans since its inception and includes complementary businesses, including a title company and real estate law practice. Longhorn's wealth of experience puts them in the unique position of being able to help investors throughout all aspects of each transaction. To get started today and see why Longhorn Investments is the superior lending experience, call and speak to Lawrence Hopkins at 314-749-7616. That's 314-749-7616. Or visit Longhorn Investments at longhorninvestments.com. Longhorn Investments. Hard money lending simplified.
Universe. Media. Network. 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 Network.
Good day. I'm Samantha Smith with your United States real estate investing news. Even at record capacity lows, real estate investors are still betting on commercial properties. Quoting Konrad Putzier of the Wall Street Journal, more than a year into the pandemic, high-rise office buildings are largely empty. About 1 of every 2 hotel rooms is unoccupied. Malls are struggling to attract shoppers. And yet by most measures, the U.S. commercial real estate market is in remarkably solid shape. Prices fell far less than after the 2008 financial crisis and are already rising again. The number of foreclosures barely increased. Pension funds and private equity firms are once again spending record sums on buildings, end quote. With the assistance given to investors by the federal government and the leniency of banks, the economy is starting to show resilience. As time pushes forward, financial cooperation will eventually cease, therefore putting a strain on commercial investors with the ever-looming threats of declining malls and increasing work-from-home business models. As many investors remain more cautious than ever, others are bravely moving ahead. Again, quoting Konrad Putzier of the Wall Street Journal, some investors are buying places hardest hit by the economic crisis. In San Francisco, where the share of office space available for lease is the highest on record, according to CBRE Group Inc., Dropbox Inc. recently put up for sublease a big part of its headquarters. Yet the building sold in March to private equity firm KKR & Co. for $1.1 billion, the most expensive sale of a San Francisco office building in more than a decade. KKR's head of real estate equity in the Americas, Justin Patner, said he likes the local market. The building's lease runs for an additional 13 years and any vacancies can be converted to high-demand lab space, end quote. Office space rental company WeWork sees a bright future in the pandemic aftermath as they receive increasing inquiries from potential customers. 2 years after its soaring $47 billion valuation, loss of investor confidence in former CEO Adam Neumann, its very public corporate cataclysm, and the elimination of thousands of jobs, WeWork is projecting market activity better than its pre-pandemic status according to its executive chair, Marcelo Claure. Quoting Claure, who is also chief operating officer of SoftBank Group Corp., WeWork's biggest investor, during an interview at the Bloomberg Businessweek Virtual Summit, the demand for WeWork space today is higher than it was prior to the pandemic, he said. Customers are basically sending us their employees because they don't know how many days they're going to be working. They don't know where their business is going to grow, end quote. In an article by Sarah McBride of Bloomberg, Sarah wrote, in the wide-ranging interview, Claure was asked about what's next for SoftBank and its founder, Masayoshi Son, and about Claure's hometown of Miami. He declined to say who the next leader of SoftBank might be, saying that only Son, 63, knows the answer. Claure also talked up Miami's efforts to build its startup ecosystem. Quote, it has an incredible feel, he said, what Silicon Valley used to have, end quote. Investing tens of millions of dollars, Missouri-based construction technology company, MiTek Inc., owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, is partnering with New York-based architect Danny Forster Architecture. This alliance will build entire rooms for hotels and apartment buildings in factories, then send them to construction sites for assembly. Although sometimes many contractors are resistant to change, quoting Konrad Putzier of the Wall Street Journal, MiTek looks to modernize modular construction by requiring assembly by general contractors. Instead of building entire rooms in a factory and driving them to a construction site on a flatbed truck, MiTek wants to ship kits of manufactured building parts along with instructions, end quote. For Barry LePatner, a New York-based construction attorney, quote, how come an entire industry is operating on mid to late 20th century mode when we're a quarter of the way, almost, into the 21st century? It drives me crazy, end quote. Again quoting Konrad Putzier, construction is a massive industry, plagued by rising costs and inefficiencies. Anyone who manages to automate it the way Henry Ford once changed car manufacturing stands to make a fortune, some industry observers say. End quote. For our quick content suggestions this week, we have From 7 Foreclosures to 7 Figures from Entrepreneur.com, The Golden Age of Multifamily Investing from Forbes.com, and Real Estate Investing and NFTs, A Marriage Made in the Blockchain from Million Acres. To research further, see links and more from these reports in the news notes. I'm Samantha Smith for United States Real Estate Investor News. UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com.